What's going on, everybody? It's Derrick.
And it's Doug.
And Sam.
This is the Gaming and Chill podcast number 75?
Somewhere around there.
Or 75 last
Close
week.
enough.
It's 70s.
It's in that zone.
Amen to that. Let's introduce our topic. What was the first game or movie moment that made you pause, walk away, and think, what did I just see? And why is it?
Ooh.
Before we do that, what's going on? What did you guys do this week?
Well, hearing the screaming baby in the background.
Tips you off on a few things.
A few things. Sitting there, it's like, hey, just getting used to everything. But I did get a chance to go to the Louisville Arcade Expo. It was pretty lit.
Good. There are a lot of pinball machines.
Oh, there was like a crap ton of pinball machines. I think overall there were over 300 different games, and basically any like pinball version you could think of. They had like Star Wars, they had AC/DC, they had my favorite Starship Troopers. I played that one for a while, as well as they had a whole bunch of other retro cabinets like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, the originals, just anything that you would probably find in a like 1980s arcade. They had plenty of them, as well as my favorite feature was they had all the home gaming consoles, the museum, going back all the way to like pre-Apple II video game systems, and you could play them all.
I've seen they had a Satellaview. Is that correct?
Yeah, man. They also had, and I didn't realize this existed, apparently Nintendo, I can send the pictures and information over to us so we can have this picture up, came up with a Super Nintendo system that actually connected to the satellite so you could play people via... the
Satellaview.
Yes, it was awesome. I didn't realize what the name of it was, so...
So,
I would like to make for the record and to make it abundantly clear, I didn't have to Google that.
Yeah. The best part about it, though, is like I was looking at the actual cost of it. So it's like $250 back in the day. So I think it was, what, $95? Like, it was kind of advertised.
That's a chunk of change.
Yeah. But on top of that, you had to pay $185 a year for the satellite service.
Good God.
So I'm like,
and I thought paying, $100 a year for Xbox was bad.
no, it was like, whoa. And the best part, like, it was super slow, and there were like only one or two games that worked with it. So needless to say, it was like the Virtual Boy, which they also had that you could go through and could play with. It was pretty awesome.
Now, I'm a huge fan of old school arcades. I'm not sure if I know the answer. Is there, other than the little arcade expos, is there anything in our local area for arcade-wise?
Rec Bar is the only place I know of.
That's what I was going to say. I do have the question. You said they had a Virtual Boy. Approximately how many new diseases do you think will be created from people playing with it?
Yeah, I didn't even touch it, so I don't know. There might be a new version of like hepatitis or something.
Super pink eye.
Oh, did you hear that somewhere around in our local area that there's a
Dixie Highway,
that there is a dude...
Again, I'd like to make abundantly clear, I didn't have to Google this.
Yes, I remember this.
Well, it recently came out that some dude had like Hep A and was working there.
Yeah, in the produce section. So if anybody's listening to this in Louisville and you went to the Dixie Highway Kroger produce section in the last couple of months, you might want to get tested.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's not a joke, actually. They're actually recommending people go get tested.
Will Kroger pay for that?
I don't know. But if you have it...
This is the joke. This is the joke. Put down the produce, pick up Doritos. Marketably safer now.
It is true.
No, let's not talk about that.
It's sad, but that's true.
We're not talking about this. In other news, this week I finally ended out the trilogy of the Cars.
Nice.
Nice.
All
I was there for that.
all cars were fixed.
You also
And-
stole Doug's backpack, Derek, because we were looking for stuff. And
He did return it
Correction,
today.
he left it there.
He gave it back today.
He left it there. I stole nothing. He left it there.
Fair.
I couldn't bring home my cookies the other day, which I left at work, by the way.
What cookies?
Yeah.
The cookies probably lasted longer at work, though, in defense.
Considering that I was sitting there all day wondering why there are just 4 boxes of Girl Scout cookies chilling out at Doug's desk.
Not in the drawer, mind you. Not in the drawer.
Yeah, because you guys don't have drawers anymore, do you?
Doug
Oh,
doesn't.
Sam does. Sam does. I need to get my stuff out of here.
Perks of management.
Just make key copies of your key and go, this drawer's yours.
We don't have keys on our drawer.
Actually, legitimately, there's more of Doug's stuff in my drawers than my own stuff, so...
Yeah.
How does that not surprise me?
It was one of those, I needed to move it off my desk because I was getting my tower put up on the desk. Now I just need to take it out of the desk drawer. And actually
Fun
take stuff
times.
home. Instead of leaving everything at work.
I know that feel. What did I do this week? Nothing. Working on a few other things, but nothing during the week. Mostly it's just work and coming home and streaming.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Emilia's birthday,
the
right?
new Chrono... You what?
Celebrated Emilia's birthday, right?
Celebrated by I let her watch Elmo.
That is...
There's not much celebrating with a 2-year-old.
That is putting yourself and taking one for the team.
He didn't say he watched
Like-
it with her, but she watched Elmo.
She watched Elmo and I sat on the couch and was like, I don't want to watch Elmo. I don't care, Mr. Noodle.
I think one of my favorite
But
Reddit
it was-
posts in the world is it talks about this guy checked into a hotel and the only things that they had was like 3 channels, the news, Sesame Street, and something else that was like in Spanish. And at like 9 a.m, he heard some grown man like yelling at the TV, "Dang it, Mr. Noodle!"
I've read that.
Yeah. I read that the other day, actually. But then you have to ask the question of, there's Mr. Noodle, his brother, Mr. Noodle, his sister, Mrs. Noodle. It's like, I have some
There's
questions.
some complicated mythos on Sesame Street these days.
No, the one that makes you feel like Nostradamus is when you guess what Elmo's song is going to be. You're like, I am a prophet, it has been foretold. Today's theme is about violins, and the song ends up to being about, the only words are violin. And it's like, I am a prophet, I guess. Oh, wait, this show's for 2-year-olds. Never mind.
I'm a prophet.
I guess I'm really popular amongst the 2-year-olds.
You're a prophet of the 2-year-old.
Seer.
Have you read that one comedian? I teach, kindergarten, and they're amazed by me. They're like, you can count up to, what? You can tie your own shoes? Yeah. When I'm not counting to 100.
For my next amazing magical trick, my thumb will disappear. Okay. This man is clearly a magician.
Cool. Well, let's move
So-
on.
Alright, before we get to our YouTube roundup, let's hear from our sponsors of the day.
Thanks, guys. Our partner for this week's podcast is Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle is an online digital store that sells some of the most popular games from the most popular game developers. But that's not all. They also offer bundle deals that change weekly and monthly that allow you to pay a designated amount for a collection of games or ebooks that can often save you hundreds of dollars. Humble Bundle then donates portions of its proceeds to a featured charity. In addition to this awesome business model, they have also partnered with us so we get a small portion of any purchase or donation through their website. All you need to do is go to our website, scroll to the bottom of the page, and click the Humble Bundle partner logo and shop for any games of your heart's desire. Thanks, Humble Bundle. Back to you guys.
And we're back. Alright, for the YouTube roundup, we've got what Japanese prison food looks like.
What a deal.
That
Actually, it looks really good.
So, I actually like this guy's channel because he breaks down like Japanese culture and everything like that, and this video is actually really entertaining.
It really was.
Because they was like they showed the food, which is like 2 box sets, but it's got like fish and rice and soup, and I was like,
They eat better than I do.
yeah, I was like, pretty sure they eat better than our school children.
They really do, actually. That's what's really depressing.
Now, they broke it down and was like, yeah, people here worked hard labor. They built the road to the prison. And I was like, man,
Run that.
they're not slacking off though, are they?
Run that by me one more time.
Yeah.
You, seriously?
No, it'd be
No.
like, I'm sorry, what?
But even their cells, to be honest, looked a little comfy.
Yeah.
They looked better than our dorms at college.
Yeah, that's I was like, man, look
Markedly better.
better than my first apartment.
It was like a nice futon. You had a little bit of shelf. You had you almost had like a medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
And you had a privacy.
And it was like, yeah. I was like, these cells look really nice. And like that communal gathering area looked really, really nice. And I was like, I had to stop and think, now, is this a typical Japanese prison, or is this just like the better one?
So I did a
better
little
one.
bit of digging, and actually that's kind of how all of their like prisons are organized for the most part. For standard like crimes. I think that there's like for murderers and stuff along those lines it's a little bit different, but
Is that current?
I'd have to double check, but everything that I saw, like, apparently worked. However, so here's what I also found. Apparently there's a bunch of human rights campaign people that are claiming that the Japanese are using totalitarian-like methods in their prisons. And I'm like, okay, so from everything I gathered, I honestly think the Japanese prison system has the right idea. While the video gives the impression that they have things better off than an American inmate does, which, let's be honest, they really do compared to some of the things we see in our correctional system. But they don't really go overboard. In those meal sizes, we saw that there was healthy, balanced portion sizes. However, you're pretty much screwed if you have a fish allergy. That's one thing to go with saying.
Yeah.
I'd like to interject here and go, you're pretty much screwed if you have a fish allergy and you're in Japan.
Exactly. No.
At all.
But apparently, like, prison terms in Japan are a whole lot shorter than the U.S. However, they're a lot more intentional about their punishment as well as, like, serving the time. So, like, I was reviewing that little schedule that briefly pops up there that he showed on the video. So after waking up at like 6:40 a.m., they have an inspection of their bunk areas, and then they get to have a 20-minute breakfast. Then they work them 8 hours a day with a 20-minute lunch, and then they get a 20-minute dinner, and then 2 hours of free time, and then bed at 9 o'clock. And then they repeat this. They don't have any days off. They just keep going and have this routine, like, beaten into them. In addition, they basically have that discipline go through and get taught to them, as well as they're not allowed to talk to each other. Apparently, the reason why they have meals inside of like the cells and stuff like that for, I guess, higher offensive crimes, you're always in your cell when you eat, except for the lunch and commune area. Basically, they don't allow you to speak to anybody, so you don't develop like prison gangs and stuff like that. And by the end of it, you've either learned a trade and go back out into society, or you've learned discipline and basically realized that it sucks being stuck in like a box little area watching black and white TV for however many hours.
Honestly, that was going to be my next question. What is the rate of return on prisons? Because I know the American prison system is like, once you've pretty much been to prison, not like a weekend in jail, but like prison, you're pretty much gonna be there, like, off and on for the rest of your life, really.
Well, also I'd like to point out, and if we have any Japanese listeners or somebody who's a little bit more in tune with Japanese current culture, they have pretty strict timing and regulation outside of prison. Like, Japanese school kids go to school all day long. They get there early to do stuff for club activities. They have a small lunch. Then after school, they do their cleanup, their club activities. They go to cram school. They come home. They eat dinner. They go to bed. So, I mean, I think it's a very more structured and rigid society.
But does the structure make... I don't want to say something strangely. Does the structure make it better in life? Because here's the thing, like, okay, you know that
test scores say yes.
unless you move, you are literally going to sit next to the same kid for 18 plus years.
That's not a bad thing.
Yes, that's not a bad thing, because it's like, oh, cool. Well, I mean, you're kind of one of my best friends because, like,
Well,
we
no,
kind of have to.
Well, it's not just that. It's like your entire class. Your entire class moves up. So it's not just that kid who you sit next to. That in American culture, it's like the kid you sit next to or the kid that lives in your neighborhood. It's like, no, these are your friends pretty much your entire life. You will know them until you all graduate. So you go to class together, you have lunch together in the classroom. So you're there for so much time together. And then when you get into the workforce, granted, they work really, really hard. And that is something I think on American culture it's lost of. You go to work for 8 hours and then you come home and you basically have a hobby. But it's less intentional time.
Well, let me tell you, the 8-hour workday is because of socialist endeavors. 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, and 8 hours of fun. That was the union's slogan. It's why we don't work 4 10-hour days. Or, like 3 12-hour days and a half day or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's the reason why we work 5 8s instead of 4 10s.
I don't know how I feel about that.
No, I'm saying it was like a socialist move.
True. But as far as, like, the prison goes, I was like, okay. Like Sam said, it's very much more intentional. It's not just an arbitrary long term. It's a harder short term, if that makes sense.
See,
is that something along the lines, Sam?
Yeah. For me, it was one of the things where it's like, hey, you're having to work for the crime that you did. And even though, yeah, they give you that brief 2-hour window at the evening to do whatever you want, it's still basically you have to work it off, and there's no off days, or there's no special events or anything else along those lines. There's no, or like, I guess, specialty programs. Like, they don't bring puppies into your your cells or anything like that, or you don't have break time or just a bunch of laying around working out at the gym, because I'm pretty sure you're out there working enough to like actually be working out, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just a really interesting video because you don't really see a whole lot of videos about prison systems. No. Unless it's about the American prison system and how terrible, truly awful it is.
How truly awful it is and how many repeat offenders we have.
Yeah, so that's the worst thing about the American system. It's repeat offenders. It's a system of... Well, I mean, that's why I really want to buy investments in private prisons. Because it's nothing but a sinkhole. You don't learn anything. Like, you don't learn anything that makes you a better human being. If you're in there for 4 years, that's 4 years of your life where you have to go, well, I was in prison. I didn't really do anything. I just kind of existed there.
Avoided the prison fights.
Exactly. But then, hey, that stays in your record. You know who's going to hire a dude who's been in for prison for 4 years? Nobody.
True.
Pretty much. And so what do? You turn to crime.
Yep.
You go work at McDonald's, and then, just like, well... I mean, not that there's anything wrong with McDonald's, mind you, but, like, there's no chance for improvement.
I read this meme fact thing, and again, I can't testify to the accuracy of this, but the idea of it was really interesting. Portugal. They basically almost decriminalized all drug offenses. And their prison intake, like, reduced so drastically. Because, like, if you're caught with a supply of over 10 days, however that's defined, you don't immediately go to prison. You actually get in front of a judge and a lawyer and a counselor, like a drug counselor, to talk it out, basically.
I'm more fascinated of what they consider 10 days worth of drugs.
That was definitely it.
Yeah.
But
Let me
well,
tell
you see,
I work
Your
at the
Honor.
hospital. I can tell you, some people 10 days goes a long way for you and me.
Right. But it was just really interesting of they go in front of a drug counselor. Like, they get help. And it was just interesting of that they didn't just go, okay, and into the slammer with you. Because that's really not helping anyone. You know, if that makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
It's like, weird. Treating people like people tends to make them be better people.
Fascinating.
I think there's an equation for this.
Neat.
Okay. Do you want to move on? Or do you got more to say about this?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay. Second one is Wreck-It Ralph is sequel, number 2. It's going to be Ralph Breaks the Internet. It was the official teaser trailer.
Yes.
First impressions.
You go first, Doug.
My first impressions were I forgot. This is gonna sound awful. I forgot how annoying Sarah Silverman's voice is on occasion. That was like, I know what Vanellope Von Sweet looks like, and she does not have the voice of Sarah Silverman. In my opinion, she has the voice of Kaylee from Firefly.
Okay. I could see it.
I love Wreck-It Ralph. And I even, I've watched the trailer a few more times, and I got used to Sarah Silverman's voice again. But it was just like, that's not the voice I expected out of that little girl. I have some concerns about it, but it's a Disney movie. It's gonna do well. I mean,
Fair.
Inside Out could have been a horrible thing. Zootopia
Zootopia was great, thank you.
Oh, Zootopia was awesome. But I'm like, if
It had
you were
potential to be a disaster, though.
Yeah, it really did.
pitch that in a room and say, hey, we're going to have a bunny cop and a fox. They're going to hang out together. And you're just like, no, they're not. This is stupid. I'm stupid. We're all stupid. But it did really well. And it's actually one of my favorites of 2016.
I mean,
Hey, Moana.
It's true.
No, they didn't come out the same year.
It did not. Came out. Actually, I think that Wreck-It Ralph. Wow, Wreck-It
2012.
Ralph was like 2012. I was about to say because I
Oh my
watched that
gosh.
before I moved back to Georgia. I mean, man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've seen that in theaters.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I think
think-
we're in a concerning era of animated films that are coming out that are just kind of black. And so it's kind of muddling up the waters.
I agree with you that it has some concerns, Doug. Or that I have some concerns.
I have my own concerns, especially because there was no plot line given in the teaser trailer.
Yeah.
Except the kitty gets the milkshake.
The kitty gets the milkshake, and the rabbit gets the pancakes.
The rabbit gets the pancakes, and the kitty gets the milkshakes.
I had a genuine chuckle at that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I shared this with you guys a little bit before, but I want to expound here. I have a worry that it could be product placement the movie part 2. But as Doug said, it's Disney. So Disney doesn't do bad animation.
But also, to be fair, Wreck-It Ralph really was a kind of the same thing because you had like all of Sega's games. You had.
I'll say yes, but no. They were references and not direct product placement. A good example of product placement is the Emoji Movie. We're going to the Dance Dance Revolution app. Oh, cool. Where are we going next? We're going to drop Box, and then Candy Crush. I was like, okay, you are dropping some serious names here.
This is
With
American
some serious-
capitalism at its best.
Right.
Yes, comrade.
But whereas like with Disney animation, it's like, okay, they managed to get around that with references, which I am 100% okay with. Of like, if you know who Cubert is, congratulations, you're one of 5 people.
Or Tapper.
If you
Tapper
know,
was great.
yeah, if you know all the villains and the villain therapy group, that's awesome. But they weren't like, I'm sorry, what did you say? M. Bison from Street Fighter 2? I do agree. Bowser from Super Mario over there is correct. It was like, okay, they're just small, like, references. But I have a worry because they showed what... I don't know if they directly called it eBay.
They did.
But it was like an auction
They
site.
did.
And I was like, oh, they're going to be doing this, huh?
All right.
Hold up.
Please don't let
eBay's
4chan
still
show.
a thing?
Here's
Please
the thing. I do think that this is just the teaser rather than a trailer.
True.
I hate that. We're going to have a teaser trailer, then we're going to have a trailer. Then we're going to have a teaser trailer. No, just give us a trailer.
Well, I mean, I think that they wanted to get something out because for the longest time, nobody knew that Wreck-It Ralph was going to be a thing.
I don't think it needs to be a thing, though. Wreck-It Ralph 2, I loved Wreck-It Ralph. I never thought it needed a sequel. I never was like, I wonder what they're doing now. I was like, okay, they learned. Like, I don't want a Moana sequel. I don't want a Frozen sequel.
I'm always up for a Frozen sequel.
Okay, that's you.
Yeah, we're gonna go through and nip that in the bud right now, even though I already know it's already on its way.
Yeah. But, like, we don't need sequels upon sequels. They did that in the 90s. with
Walt
Aladdin
Disney
2.
did not believe in sequels, which is why all the Disney classics did not have any form of a sequel until after he was long gone.
Hey, the
You
third
mean Frozen.
Aladdin movie, the third Aladdin movie with his dad was great.
Hey,
And
I know
Turtle
that,
Island?
that is one of my favorite movies of all time, but I'm saying that was after he died. Aladdin came out. He's been
True.
dead since since the 80s?
He's been frozen, thank you. Get it right.
Yeah.
Has that been Snoped yet?
No. Who needs Mulan 2? No one asked for it. Who are you going to defeat now?
Hey,
You defeated
it
the
gave us a
Huns.
reason to want the Szechuan sauce back.
Gotta have that
Yeah,
sauce
that came
party.
out. That came out this week.
That came out this week, by the way, if anybody hasn't gotten it. It's pretty mediocre to what I remember it, but hey, it's still a good dipping sauce.
If I were to never have it, like it would just be like, that's a neat little like memory lane. But it's one of those like,
The magic for it is ruined once you've seen the video of the guy on the counter jumping up and down going, I'm Pickle Rick! And you're like, I don't want to associate with these people.
yeah.
None of these people.
None of these
These are-
people represent me, and the sad thing is they vote. That's the one a problem.
So you guys would have gotten a kick out of this. So I went to the expo with my father-in-law, who has a pinball machine, was really excited about this.
Wait, why have I never been invited over to their house then?
I don't know. You've never asked.
You never told me I had a pinball machine.
But
The truth comes out.
we got into the car afterwards. He's like, there were a lot of weird guys over there. And I'm like, to be fair, a lot of these guys have been playing Donkey Kong and taking bong hits ever since the 80s. So
They own 3 to 4 pinball machines. No one does this.
my favorite thing is I was playing Pac-Man, and I all of a sudden got this aroma.
Someone's invading my space.
Yeah, this aroma of like, it's kind of skunky smell. And I thought it was the dude next to me, but he left and it was still there. I realized that the machine was filled. So I looked up at the name tag. It's like, all right, name changed for safety reasons. I know what you did.
We know.
But that was it.
You wanted to mail him a Skyrim-esque letter with a black handle that just says, we know.
We know. But the best part was, like, we got in there. He's like, there were a lot of weird people there. I'm like, yeah.
You turn and go, hey, your generation, buddy.
Exactly.
Keep it in your lane. No, honestly, like, that's one of my...
I bet you could have started a panic if you had yelled, "Oh God, the cops are here!" I gotta use the bathroom. Not after I do. They're all trying to cram in there.
And today in the news, 47 tons of... and blocked all of the sewers.
That's weird that you'd find 40 tons.
Exactly.
Like, how do you even flush 35 tons down?
I don't know, but we're going to have to take this 30 tons. But
okay.
You what?
I would say you did get the reference.
Yeah, I got what you were going for. I got your 25-ton joke. It's one of, like, why on a level, it's, like, why I like going to cons. And I've been to 2 of them all at this point. And they were the same con. Just different years. But it's like, you get to meet a bunch of new people. But the downside is you get to meet a bunch of new people. Where you're like, I really...
Please don't call me. I'm going to give you my card, and please ignore all the information on this.
Doug and I met someone at last Comic-Con. I think we can talk about it now.
Yeah.
Who wanted...
some opinions.
Had some opinions on 1920s Germany. About how they maybe didn't do things wrong. And I'm sitting there going, I don't want to be at my booth. No, please leave. And I'm sitting there going, how do you ask a dude...
Wow, I did not see that coming.
Ugh.
Oh, what was great is, like that, there's a level, like, that's just weird. But then also he's like, he didn't like anybody of color in movies or comic book heroes. So he was trying to argue that Storm from the X-Men should not be a person of color.
Yeah, those are the kind of people that I don't associate myself with.
We were trapped at our booth. It's like, I want to leave. Oh, this is my booth. I'm gonna go take photos. Be right back.
Smoke break.
I think it was bad at our booth, but he went next door to the cosplay wig booth that was ran by a couple ladies in cosplay. And he kept quizzing and hassling them. And it's like, dude, just leave. Just leave. And he came back 2 days in a row.
Oh, yeah.
It was...
He was a winner of a person.
But that's like the downside of a con. You get to meet all those interesting people that have interesting ideas. And you're like, I wish I could leave.
Now, to be fair, like, not everybody at the con was like that.
No,
fact, actually, it was really
not.
funny because a lot of the people there were, like, dads bringing their kids, which was really awesome to watch.
Yeah. And
where's the save button? Son, there is
no save button.
What do I need to do?
The only way you can actually do well in this game is to get such a high score, you can leave your 3 initials up at the top.
And your 3 initials are only composed of A and S. I'll let you figure it out.
Everyone did that. Like, you could be the most, like, nice person ever. Just like...
Yep. Yeah, I'll agree. Not everyone's bad. It's just, like, the few people that... It's like when you go somewhere and, like, that one negative thing sticks out and it
that one guy.
that one guy who has
super
interesting
racist.
Ideas. Who's a supreme racist, and you're like, I'm gonna remember this. You're like, I'm gonna remember this, and not any of the neat cosplay I just seen. Thanks, buddy. See you next
Dog
year.
Meat will remember this.
You what?
Dog Meat will remember this.
All right. Speaking of remembering things, let's move on to our main topic.
Yeah.
What was the first
segue
game
for us.
or movie moment that made you pause, walk away, and think, what did I just see? Doug, do you want to introduce? We'll introduce and then we'll expound. Doug, do you want to go?
Yeah. Sam, you had asked me earlier what this question meant, because, like, the wording isn't the greatest on our notes. It's one of those... so the topic is when you just, like, see something in a game or movie, and you're just like, I need to pause,
And think about
walk
things.
around the house. You know that meme where it's like the Three Wolf Moon, like the faded style meme, where the guy that's like looking and then he's like on the beach and throwing his hands back, like why?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of feeling you get. Like, for me, the scene was The Last of Us, the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
And
That totally wrecks you, by the way.
oh,
Hey Sam, play it
dude,
now that you have a daughter. Go for
Yeah,
it.
no, I don't think I can do that. I couldn't do it hardly when I played it the first time. I'm like, oh.
I watched it this afternoon in preparation for the topic. I nearly teared up again. I was like, hold it in. But like, that was one of those scenes where like, I had not known anything about this game. Like, I knew it was a game, like what it was, but nobody ever mentioned the opening scene. So I'm like, just coming off playing BioShock Infinite, I'm like, throw it in my PlayStation 3, turn it on. 20 minutes later, I'm like, I need to go for a walk.
I need to hug my loved ones.
Pretty much. It's like, what did I just, like, it's not one of those, like, super bizarre things. In fact, the reason why it's so,
Sad.
I don't want to say hurtful, but just, like, impactful is because it's a thing that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, I'm gonna go crash my Starliner into the sun to defend, the pseudo-deity person in my life. It's just like, this is a father trying to save his daughter, and whoops!
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Sam, what was yours?
Actually, mine, there were 2 moments in this game.
Okay,
and it's
bar Final Fantasy VII. Moving on.
Yeah. No,
So one.
No, I was about to say, we don't talk about that.
Barring Starship Troopers.
And
Yes.
Firefly.
Yes. The movie, or Serenity, specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it was a situation like Doug. I went into the game completely blind. It's like, found it in the dollar bin. I'm going to go play this game. It's Spec Ops The Line. Did you guys ever play that one?
I've never played this.
I think you've told me about this.
Yeah, so basically, for all of you that haven't played this game, the story takes place in the Middle East. I'm pretty sure it's like Dubai or something like that. And some weather weird thing causes massive sandstorms to like isolate the city of Dubai, and there's a missing ranger division that like just vanishes. So your team is a special forces group where it's like, hey, Spec Ops The Line, and that infiltrates and finds out that these rangers have like gone insane because of just the horrible conditions there, the enemy that they've been fighting, and basically PTSD on steroids for the whole thing. And I really, it's an awful game when it comes to controls. Like, it was the worst thing to play. However, the storyline, if you guys ever just want to go watch just the campaign playing through, it's worth it, because basically there's 2 scenes. There's one in the middle of the thing where you're like, oh man, that hit you right in the feels. Your character literally fries 24 civilians with white phosphorus with an airstrike he calls in.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Like, and it shows their burnt bodies, which is like one of the things where you're like, oh gosh. Because it's like, you made the command and you actually direct the fire for this thing, and it drops down on these people that are huddled in a corner that you think are all enemy soldiers, and you're like, oh, well, that's there. And
Wow.
I now feel like a war criminal, and I'm going to set my controller down and walk away for a couple of seconds, because that's like, wow.
I'm going to go take a shower, get clean.
Yeah, it's sitting there, and it's like, okay. And then at the very end of the game, I know this is like a spoiler thing, so I don't know. It's old enough that I'm sure that people have already played it through.
Spoil away.
Spoil away.
Spoil away.
The guy you've been searching for, it turns out he committed suicide years ago. And basically, you've gone crazy and think that you hear him talking to you. So you lose your friends, you kill hundreds of people, including the civilians, for absolutely nothing more than you going crazy. And at the end, you get to decide how you're going to handle that. You either commit suicide, you surrender yourself to the authorities, or you go through and basically gun down the guys sent to try and find you later on because you've gone crazy as well. So
Oh, wow.
it's basically at the end of this game, you're like, what in the world did
There's no happy.
There's
ending.
literally no happy ending. You turn yourself in at the end peacefully. That's the happiest ending you can get. But then you still have to live with your character did all of that for absolutely nothing.
Wow.
Ugh.
So after that game, I literally didn't play video games for almost a week.
You know, yours and mine actually have a similar thread. And mine is a Final Fantasy game, but not the one you think. It's Final Fantasy VI.
Really?
Yep. Well, I want to preface this by saying I did have a movie moment that it made me like pause the movie and go, I need to walk away. I'll only tell you, because I'm not going into it, I'll only tell you the name of the movie. And that movie is, and I've been telling people to watch this movie constantly, it's the movie Breadwinner. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to spoil it. And actually, my lovely wife is writing the review. So I was like, I'm going to pick a game. Final Fantasy VI. About halfway through the game.
I know what scene you're talking about.
About halfway through the game, the Earth gets destroyed through hijinks, magic, literally. You take control of the girl Celes. This general, who is a general in the Empire's army, gets left on this island with one dude, Sid, who ends up getting really, really sick and appears to have died. You then walk your character up to a mountain peak on the edge of the ocean, and you have the option to pitch yourself off the mountain.
So you can commit suicide.
Yes. You have that option. Now that moves the game forward because it ends up like you fall into the water, you hit this river current, you get washed ashore onto a different landmass. But you don't know that.
No, you do not.
But let's assume you do pitch yourself off. So you committed to saying, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and kill off this character. So you survive. You eventually get an airship. You go back to the island expecting, this guy's died. Nope, he lived. He got better. He built a raft. So you eventually...
So there's that awkward moment of, oh, wow.
I was willing to die and this character commit suicide. And it turns out they were fine. So then you...
JK, guys, I'm alive.
So then you're sitting there going...
JK.
Oh my god.
I could have ended the game right there.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh. And then, so if you go back and you actually wait and don't pitch yourself off the mountain, he gets better and you ride the raft over. So regardless, you get to the same place. But it's just one of those, like, moments where you're going, oh my god, I had this choice. And granted, there's no real big consequences. It's just, you have to come to the conclusion to yourself of, I thought this character was going to die. So it's just one of those, for a 10-year-old playing that game, that's a heavy moment. Even today, I'm like, oh, that's a really big choice. Like, it's like Romeo and Juliet, and I think that's actually kind of how they intended to play that, of one character appears to have died, so the other character appears to kill themselves, but just kidding, it was a sleeping drug. So I thought that was a really big, heavy moment for gaming. So,
I dig it.
yeah. But yeah, I think that was... I mean, do you have anything more to say about that, Doug? About yours?
I was going to say that... give me 1 moment. Thinking to myself.
Dead Island also had the trailer was really hard to watch.
Yeah, Dead Island, even the end of Dead Island is really emotional.
But the game in between those 2 points is utter dreck.
Yeah, it's literally like the worst game organized ever. Like, that and even its sequel was awful because basically it's like, hey, guess what? It's the same exact game you played, but guess what? You can actually find guns again.
Though, you know what game is really decent despite it being really crappy? Dead Rising.
Yeah, it really actually is. Especially the first one that came out with the Xbox was actually kind of fun for a while, and then you're just like, yeah, and I'm just doing the same thing.
Isn't it really hard to play nowadays because if you put it up on a high def monitor, like the graphics are all messed up?
Yeah, it's really bad.
I know because the one that I found hard was Dead Rising 2. You have to constantly give shots to your daughter or else she dies. It's like, oh, why man? Why you gotta do this? And then they just went off the rails with 3.
Yeah, but I like the off-the-rails nature of it. It's just like, buzzsaw on a bike? You bet.
Buzzsaw on a bike, samurai swords, and a dragon mask? Yeah, you got that.
I was talking about the flamethrower, but okay. You know the one.
I don't know what you're talking about. You should tell us, Derrick.
I'll tell you about it after the podcast.
Tell you about it when you're older, kid. We're the same age.
All right. Anything else on the main topic?
I think I'm good.
I believe I'm good.
There you go. Okay, let's talk about the weekly challenge. Your job is to defend a major video game villain in a court of law. How do you get the not guilty verdict? And you can't use the insanity plane. First of all, who are you going to defend?
You're gonna love this one. Prince Lothric and Lorien of Dark Souls 3.
Wow.
Okay.
Wouldn't expect that one.
Doug and Dark Souls 3? No.
No. I would choose Pagan Min from Far Cry 4.
Ooh, good choice.
Nice.
I have some thoughts about your character, too. Which, well, I'll ask you some questions.
Mine?
And Derrick?
Kefka, Final Fantasy VI.
The clown?
The clown?
No. Clowns never deserve to be defended, ever.
There's actually some really good ones. I think I might be flouncing the skirting the rule, but we'll go with Lothric. What do you want to talk about, Doug?
All right.
Keep it short. Keep it short.
All right, Lothric and Lorien were supposed to link the flames to keep the world going, basically. Okay. They did not do that. So, I'm just giving you the brief history of who they are.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah, this is very brief. So, they didn't do their job, so the other Lords of Cinder, Yorm, Aldrich, and the Abyss Watchers, came in. Well, they failed because... Why do that? Because it hurts. It literally sears your soul and destroys you to relink the flame. So why do it a second time? Like, that's just for the birds. So you're the third guy in line who's pretty much like, as if, the Braves, they couldn't get their farm team to come fill out some of their roster. So they got, the guy in the stands, kindergartner, to come play in the game. So you're nobody. I'm defending Lothric and Lorien because it literally destroys your soul to keep the world going. And they were taught from a young age that this is what's going to happen. You're going to be in a lot of pain. You're going to, it is going to destroy you. What's the point? The world's, it's just going to have to happen again and again and again. There's literally 0 point to relinking the flames. You can't enjoy the world you created, so there's just 0 point. Why do it? One of them is already... The one who's most capable is not the one who's able to link the flames. The one who's crippled actually has to light the flames. So his brother would have to carry him to the fire and throw him in and watch him die. So what's the point?
I feel like I blacked out.
It's in a flawed system that they are required to kill themselves for everyone else. It's not a sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice made willingly. It's a sacrifice that is going to happen to them unwillingly. Because to the point where they have the third string guy come along to try to kill you, it's no longer a sacrifice. It's a mandatory slaughter.
If I understood like a tenth of Dark Souls lore, that might be a little more compelling. At this point, I'm like, not guilty, man. I understood nothing of that. I'm the third string judge, apparently.
Still, you were supposed to be the better man.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, but it hurt. Like, it literally sears your soul.
It stings a little.
Like,
if you ever use Bactine, it's like that.
Do you have any Bactine?
Try it on your cut.
Have you ever seen the Robot Chicken Alf jokes?
No.
Does anyone have any Bactine?
I'll have to look it up. Alright, Sam, defend your guy. Who was it again?
Pagan Min from Far Cry 4.
Right.
So basically, he's the bad guy. At least that's what all the trailers, everybody in the world try and make you believe. But depending on if you get the second alternate ending by accidentally walking away from your TV for like 10 minutes and then coming back, you find out that really he's not as evil as everybody says that he is. And he was so much better than the alternative. So basically, the accusation against him would have been war crimes, basically saying that he was overly aggressive against the people that he was fighting against. Well, on one hand, you have a religious nut that wants to create a theocracy that you can side with, who literally kills off members of his own group that don't have loyalty or anything else along those lines. And then you have the exact opposite, which is the other side that you can side with in the game, which basically wants to create a regime of drug trade and child soldiers. So you have this guy, Pagan Min, who actually is just a product of the local environment. Yes, he's aggressive against people, he tortures any of the people that he finds, except really, despite his aggressive tactics, he is the most reasonable of all the factions, and he could actually probably go to him, and he would listen to it. So I'd go the way of the CIA and fund the local warlord in this case. You know?
Makes.
I'm actually with you. I played Far Cry 4, and there's actually a third ending. Did you know that?
I have not got
fourth.
the third. Oh, fourth ending?
Okay, so there's the standard end. Like, there's an ending right at the very beginning of the game. You set down your controller.
Yep.
Then there's the endings of you side with Amana and the other dude, the religious nut or the drug cartel. The fourth ending is when you destroy them. Well, you side with them. And on the last mission, if you have a rocket launcher, when Pagan Min gets in the vehicle, the helicopter, you have an option to shoot down his helicopter. And, kill him and take his place.
You know,
Nice.
The Far Cry 4 story sounds really, 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 really similar to Far Cry 3. Where it's like, you can side with these cartel dudes, or you can side with the zealots who will literally are forming a cult. And it's like...
See, that's why I'm really interested in Far Cry 5, because it's not like... Well, I'm hoping it's not going to be side with douchebag A and douchebag B.
Exactly.
It's like,
I'm hoping that there's... well, let me go this route. You've seen that there was a thing floating around about a new cult, right? A real cult that is using the AR-15 in its religious worship. Like, everyone is carrying a rifle.
Oh, yes.
And I was like...
yes, I did
I was
see
sitting
that
there
in CNN.
Oh my god. This is Far
the
Cry 5.
Unification Christian Church or something like that. Yeah, no, I
seen this, I was like,
I thought about that.
This is going to do some terrible things for Far Cry 5. That was my first
This is
thought.
also going to do some terrible things for Christianity, but
It's a different question.
that's a different aspect of that whole scenario.
Okay.
So, your defense.
Kefka, the mad clown.
Go on.
Well, he was the court jester for Emperor Gestalt, right? Basically the second-hand man. This guy, Kefka, was right next to the Emperor at all times, could have easily led the Empire himself. When it came time to experiment with Magicite, the Emperor could have chosen literally anyone else in the kingdom. Who did he first experiment on? Kefka. It broke the man. The man literally lost his sense of self. He literally saw the world ending and beginning over and over and over because of the magicite he was being experimented with. So, when it comes time, he wants to destroy the only man who he thinks is responsible. That's Emperor Gestalt. Yes, he does some pretty shady things, but he is... And I'm not just taking the insanity plea because, it's easy. He literally can't be held culpable because he has no sense of self. He has no sense of reality. So when he poisoned the kingdom of Doma, he wasn't able to tell if that was reality or if it was a fiction created by the emperor he so hated. So when he also destroys the world, he's doing it to destroy and deny Emperor Gestalt from using magic and magicite on anyone else. Yes, it accidentally destroyed the world, and then Kefka decided, I'm going to take advantage of this power. But in the end, it just got away from him. He didn't intentionally set out to destroy the world. He just took advantage of a terrible situation.
So basically you're saying instead of murder 1, you want to give him for negligent homicide?
Yes. Yes.
You know, I will agree with you because I do know the history of Kefka. Do you know his last name?
I don't actually.
I think it's Alapuzo.
So,
Right?
Italian?
The things I know off the top of my head.
And specify, he didn't have to Google this.
But
True.
I could be wrong. So, but like you said, he got experimented on. He literally was just...
So,
Combine that with a nihilistic worldview, it makes sense. Of even if you don't decide not to do that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It benefits me.
so
It keeps me alive.
it's definitely skirting the no insanity plea, but I'm not taking the insanity plea because it's easy. I'm taking it because, nope, this dude's probably legitimately insane. Literally, you can't hold him culpable.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll agree with you.
Okay, I'm more concerned with you than me. Okay, let's move on to gaming news real fast. Detroit Come Human has a release date, and that release date is May 25th. I'm looking...
This game looks pretty epic.
Because of the backlash, I looked more into it, and I love it. I think I might actually pick this up.
It looks very Blade Runner-esque.
It looks like a big mixture of Blade Runner and Heavy Rain.
True.
And I like the idea that you can go back in time, basically in time, and try something new.
Did you see the trailer, though, Sam?
I did.
The trailer that everyone's getting backlashing?
No.
Basically, it heavily implies this man drunkenly destroyed his robot the first time, and beats his daughter.
Ooh.
To death.
To death. And the robot...
Oh, I do remember this one now. I didn't realize that it was the same game.
Yeah, same game. I seen that trailer and I was like...
They changed the trailer so much that I didn't even realize it was the same game.
Yeah, the first demo they had was like a hostage negotiation. Like, that was the demo, but the trailer, I was like, that's a really heavy trailer to drop. That and they be turning robots into anarchist robots. I was like, I'm in for this game. I'm all about robots.
Sweet.
New to Netflix for March 2018. I'm not going to list them all. Just some things that stuck out for me was Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 and Voltron Legendary Defenders Season 5.
Hey. The second season of a series of unfortunate events with Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah.
Oh, you've actually
watched the
that?
first
Yeah.
season.
But you didn't watch Stranger Things?
Shut up.
Alright, which is your favorite? Ghostbusters 1 or 2?
I don't have a favorite.
It's Ghostbusters, man. How are you going to go through and argue with Jet Puff Marshmallow Man?
Stay Puft.
Yeah, Stay Puff.
I will counter that. Oh, I'm agreeing with you. It's Ghostbusters 1. It's hard to combat original NES controller plugged into the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. He's got a point.
True.
All right. Releasing this week is Scribblenauts Showdown on March 6th for PS4, Xbox, and Switch. And Final Fantasy 15 on PC on March 6th as well.
And that's also the same day that the Royalty Edition comes out.
Good. I read that really slow because I was translating Roman numerals in my brain. I was like, Final Fantasy.
We're on like, what, 26?
Sounds
About
like
that.
And I think that's it. Anything else for this week?
I think I'm good.
All right. Have a good one.
See ya!
See you later, guys.
Thanks, guys. And thank you to all of our listeners out there, because we really couldn't do it without you. We hope you enjoyed this week's Gaming and Chill podcast. If you'd like to know more about the podcast, follow us on social media, or learn how to support the podcast directly, check us out at www.gamingandchillpodcast.com. Also, be sure to stay up to date with Gaming and Chill by following us on Twitter at gaming_in_chill. Yes, that is gaming_in as in Nancy _chill. You can also find links to the articles, games, and videos mentioned in this podcast in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and until next time.